Today here with me I have Professor Ryan Angst, postdoctoral researcher from the Institute of Environmental Science and Technology at Autonomous University of Barcelona. He's joining us today. We will talk with him so many things, and we will find out why he's here at the UDOM. My name is Shesha Arban. Welcome to the UDOM podcast, and I hope you'll be with me until the end of the show. So without further ado, welcome to the UDOM podcast, Professor Ryan.
Hi, thank you so much. It's so good to be here today.
How are you? How are you feeling today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing great, and I'm very happy to have you here today. First, how do you talk about the academic cooperation program between the University of Dodoma and the University of Barcelona?
I think that it's very important to be able to exchange knowledge between the different groups that are working, and so I can speak mostly about the specific collaborations that we have with the Department of Geography, but just realizing in conversations that came out of being here in June of last year when I came for an academic conference that was the Political Ecology Network conference, we began this conversation about the importance of being able to exchange knowledge between our group that's working in Barcelona and the group that's working here at the Geography Department, to be able to exchange knowledge around conservation practices, but also different technologies. And so our work in Barcelona is really focusing on data, but the ways that data is being used in conservation. And so this is a very rapidly accelerating field. And we saw this opportunity where we're all focused on different aspects of it, and to be able to share that knowledge really creates this opportunity for us to build on each other's work and support each other in this way. But then also part of this collaboration is really grounded in the understanding that the research that's happening in Tanzania is really underrepresented at the global scale. And so much of the research that's being done here in Tanzania about and about conservation in Tanzania is really there's an overrepresentation of scholars coming from Europe and America in particular. But the quality of the work here is, in particular, outstanding at UDOM on conservation. And there's this kind of need for this conversation about collaboration, and really the collaboration starting with this hub of expertise on conservation that's here, and building from that rather than outside research coming
and do the research here and get the credit for that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we need now to see people having credits for their own works, their own research works that they have done, mostly the natives here. That is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something that our group is really taking seriously, this inequity in the way that research is represented, like who it represents, the people doing the research, but also like what the consequences of these narratives really being shaped by outsiders in research to try to do things differently. So that's why this opportunity to come here was so important to me. To be here and spend time here and to build collaborations before I even begin to do research, and to see what I can do that's building on what other people are doing. It also might be able to support their work, but then also, like when I'm starting to do my own research, then them, being able to give me feedback on it, and to really take a critical view on my work, and basically like try to help me guide it so it is sensitive to these injustices that are present in the way that academic publishing works.
Well, thank you so much for your big work. Let me take you a little bit back. When you were having a conversation earlier, prior to the starting of the show, I could see you're very, very interested in research. You told me you can talk about the research in a very, in a very wide and long way. When did you find out that you have interest in research, and how do you feel when you're into that field, particularly as a personal being?
As a person, sorry.
Yeah, as a person, how do you find that you're interested in doing research, and you could have done anything else, but why research?
Yeah, it's really I don't think a lot about this question, so but I think that when I really got interested in research was actually during my undergrad, and I was working in a very productive but also stimulating ecology lab that was working on plant genetics, but also looking at how plant genetics related to different distributions of species, and sort of that was really focused on issues of aspects of biogeography, which is very different from what I'm doing now. But I think I developed a strong interest in it then. But then to be able to, I think I moved away from that for a while. But then when I saw the opportunity to be able to integrate ecological science, that's coming from a much more like biology background and thinking about geography, but then connecting that to social science and those issues, that's when I really became, kind of, when I began to take come from the perspective that I am today, which is really, a lot of my research is focused on the kind of this space between ecological research and social science, and how to have more integration between those two things. And that really just seems to keep me going, on research. And there's so much that still is lacking, and that ability to have conversations across these knowledge spaces that I think is very stimulating to me and keeps me going. So
exactly where we do research on that.
I think that's probably the way I would explain why I do research. But it's an interesting question, and actually, these things that we don't think about that much. Why do I do this all the time?
And you love doing it. You do it. You have interest in doing it, and you do it fully on board. So it's really nice. For the short period that you've been here at the UDOM, what do you think should be the improvement that should have been done here to make the research department, or the whole general meaning, to improve from how it is right now to another level?
I'm pretty new here, so I don't know if I really have any advice to give on this yet, because I think I need to spend more time here to get more familiar, but also kind of talk to colleagues more and see what things could be improved. But sorry, I don't have any any kind of.
Maybe we'll have another conversation after a while, and you can tell us
that would be great.
And
also to, I think, to have that conversation with other people that are part of the departments here, because I guess as an outsider, I don't feel.
Well, you can tell us.
I'm still learning.
From Barcelona, we do this and this and this, and maybe if it's to be applied here, we can have an improvement. But we will have that discussion later if I get wishes after you've been here for a while to study. How is it going here? Yes.
Definitely, sure.
How's your experience so far in Tanzania? What has surprised you so far?
I mean, I love being here. It's been so wonderful. The past, I think I've been here 5 or 6 weeks now, and I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but it's really something that I found very just enjoyable about being here. Is just how hospitable people are, how friendly people are.
Okay.
On a day-to-day basis, it's very nice. Just being in Tanzania for that aspect, and it's been very welcoming at the department as well. I kind of feel very much welcomed and at home. And so it's not something that I would say is something that I was shocked by or anything like that, but it's just been it has been a surprise, and it's just how welcoming and wonderful it's been.
Well, this is something that when I talk to a lot of people, they bring it up, especially the foreigners, the level of hospitality and welcoming, and how much welcoming people are here in Tanzania. I think it's not just on social media and on the internet, people saying that. I think it's a real thing, and people are really experiencing that. So kudos to Tanzanians. Kudos to Tanzanians. Did you ever had the local foods here?
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
So I eat a lot of ugali and mboga mboga.
Okay.
with the pili pili. But I think that if I have to pick one thing that really is my favorite, it's the pili pili. And but the diversity of pili pili too, the different types. I've become a bit of a connoisseur of the pili pili.
How do you find ugali? Because most people say it's not spicy, it's not hot, it's not sugary, it's not salty, it doesn't really have a particular taste. So how do you find ugali isn't the favorite?
I think maybe I see that like the first time I had ugali, where it was like, it was
Struggling to find the taste.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock, and it was just like, I was like, wow, this is like a staple. But then I think I've become so used to it that now I really love it, you know, and I think the energy that it gives you throughout the day, because once you eat ugali, you're never hungry
energetic
the
whole day.
You always sleep very well. But also it's whatever you eat it with. It's about the mixture of those flavors, you know, so it does have its own flavor. But it's a more subtle flavor, you know, and I think people are used to these very strong tastes. But then it mixes with, you know, when you have it with like the, you know, like the wonderful eggplant dish, the berengen. Like when you mix
biringan, you know biringan, your word.
Yeah, berengen. Sorry, I said it right, correctly. But when you mix with that, or like, even just like shisha, like the bogazamajani, when you mix it with that, I find that it's this flavor that I've really come to love. So.
That's really cool.
And then with the pili pili, it's,
again,
I could eat it
it has to go with pili pili.
I mean, it doesn't have to, but with the pili pili, I could eat it every day and never get tired.
That is so cool. So what has been challenges that you've been facing so far adapting the new environment, both academically and socially?
I wouldn't say challenges as much, because it's been really exciting, but definitely adjusting to the Kiswahili here, because I've learned Kiswahili in a very different way, you know, a kind of informal way, speaking in Kenya. That's, but people speak a very, you know, kind of, it's very similar to the way that Kiswahili is written, you know, and taught from a book here, but also the way that people talk here. It's a bit fast for me, so that's been just, I wouldn't say it's, yeah, I mean, it's been a good challenge for me, because it's really making me improve my speaking and learning. But it has been, I've been spending a lot of time on it. So,
But you've learned Swahili while you're in Kenya previously, and right now using it here, do you find difficulties sometimes to say some words in Swahili? Maybe they were okay to be used in Kenya, but here they're very too directly and maybe might be considered rude. Do you have like now a challenge to have a choice of words how to use here?
I think with that I've adapted, you know, and now I don't know, how did I introduce myself today? Was it very rude? I don't know. But so I think I know how to speak more politely now, in a way that's considered more politely, because these ways of speaking that are considered impolite here, they're not considered impolite in Kenya. It's just like the way that
cultural
people
diversity
communicate on a different way. It's just an important cultural difference. But I guess there's some things that I have to think about to say to make sure that I'm being polite. You know, just like when you say shikamo, actually to say shikamo is a greeting to an elder or someone that you're trying to show respect to. I do forget this sometimes, so it's challenging.
Okay. What do you foresee as a future relationship between these two universities, the University of Dodoma and the University of Autonomous University in Barcelona?
Yeah, so I can speak about the way that we're just beginning to discuss collaborations that are going forward between the geography department and our research group, and specifically on my project that we're sort of beginning work on a project to really talk about the types of data that are used in conservation practice and analysis that are applied in Tanzania, and the data that's produced about conservation data, or I'm sorry, the data that's produced about conservation in Tanzania. For example, like the protected area maps and the kind of maps that exist. But there are multiple types of data that could be used, but there are certain types that are used in practice. And so trying to understand better why the types of data are used in practice that are, but then also trying to think about more like the consequences of using different types of data. You know, what do those data show accurately, and what do they miss about local realities? But then also, do they have any other potentials for misuse or things like this? But then, like, how do these data represent local livelihoods in particular, which is a very important topic that we're working to collaborate on. and see how this compares to different work that we're doing globally, to look at the way that the data can create injustices, actually through the use of different types of data. But then that also is connected to a project that I'm trying to establish here, that's going to be a collaboration looking at pastoralist areas throughout East Africa, and the way that different types of wildlife conservation practices have expanded into those areas, and trying to understand how they've been established, but to do a broader comparison. And so this is something that I got really excited about last year when I came here in June, and seeing all the amazing research that's happening here at University of Dodoma, but also throughout Tanzania, and with a lot of researchers doing very, very amazing work from Dar es Salaam. But I want to begin working with the group here at University of Dodoma to build this collaboration, and then to expand to people through their networks that they work with, to have a more kind of grounded view of this topic that I'm personally very interested in, but I'm very hesitant to do as an outsider.
Yeah.
But then also what I mentioned before about knowledge exchange, I think is something that's going to become very important in the coming months. So there are some researchers here using open source software, especially like R for statistics. And we're talking a lot about how to collaborate on this and kind of build different approaches for working on these issues that we are from a different angle. Basically like looking at the data, taking the data on its own terms, and trying to create different analyses, different types of analyses that aren't possible with kind of more standardized approaches, but that you can make a very customized approach through use of our statistical software, for example, or Python or these other open source softwares for things like mapping and mapping of aspects of conservation.
Yeah.
But then also, I think that we'll eventually get to thinking about how to apply alternative types of analyses to thinking about the impact of climate. And so it's something that we've been talking a lot about since I've been here is just the variability in rainfall. And this is one of these dimensions of climate change that's going to become very important, the interaction between temperature and rainfall. And so in working in a lot of drier areas, how important those changes in rainfall can be, but they can often be very hard to understand using the commonly available types of data and analysis that are out there.
Now
Sorry, you should cut me off if I'm talking too much, because
no, it's all right. Now with the help of the technology growth and the softwares that you're speaking about, I think it will make it not just easier, but at least reliable to conduct research on certain matters like the one that you talked about here, the climate change. Now it's hard to predict when it's going to rain and when it's not going to rain, because things are changing now and then. So I think it's very important that we are doing those collaborations in technology, and we know the Barcelona has already been advanced, so those collaborations is going really to be helpful here as is growing. So generally, the aim of geography department having you here, can we talk a little bit generally about that, and for how long are we expecting how many years are we expecting to have you here? Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, as long as possible. I hope so.
We'll be happy to have you.
But for this stay, I'm currently scheduled to be here until the end of May, but I think that I'll be trying to extend that. It depends on immigration issues from Spain right now, because I'm a resident in Spain, and so this is one challenge of this collaboration that needs to be worked around. But yeah, I think for now it's sort of a stay where we're basically going to see what develops from this without pushing in a way that makes it feel forced. Just kind of seeing what naturally emerges with the research, and seeing what's interesting, and then following that. But then also seeing how it goes with me teaching, which I'll be likely be teaching or helping with some courses in the next semester, the coming semester, second semester.
What level is that going to be? The bachelor degree or master's degree?
I believe it's going to be at the master's.
Master's degree,
yeah,
okay.
It's still in planning.
Yeah.
I haven't worked it out yet, for sure.
All right, in the geography department, on the research part.
On the research part?
The teaching.
The teaching.
The likely.
Yeah, I think it would be more with the research focus.
Okay.
Yeah. But then also, be planning to give some seminars on my work that I think are unprepared yet. They haven't been scheduled yet, but I'll be giving some seminars for the department as well, and presenting on my own research.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to those as well too.
Well, thank you.
And it's
so
actually
much.
one of the things that, going back to your initial question about my experiences here, where it's been something that's actually really struck me is the departmental culture in geography, and the way that there's this practice of giving review on people's work that can, I think at a lot of other places, can be quite harsh. This kind of feedback and the critique of people's work, and I was really struck by how the department here gives this feedback in a way that's so supportive. And it's not that people hold back on their criticisms, but the way that they're able to do it in this way that's not undermining people's work. It's ultimately very supportive.
It's
but
good,
then it's helping people to improve their work.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that.
And I think it's very nice. If you want someone to grow or do better in something, the best way is not to be rude to them, tell them that this is not wrong. Maybe you find a way to tell them this is right, but maybe it would have been greater if it would be this way. And I think we really do master that here in Tanzania. Very polite people, and that does not, as you say, does not mean that you hold back the critics. You say it, but in a very good way, that the researcher is not mad about it or sad. So thank you so much for joining us here today at the UDOM podcast. Hopefully we'll have you again after you're done your time here, and then we can talk the achievements that you have achieved with this project, and the teachings and the research and everything that you came here for. And we will talk more, I think, of the experiences that you have had here. But thank you so much for joining us today. I have been with Professor Ryan. My name is Shisha Aran. Thank you so much for joining with me today. I just want to remind you to please subscribe, like, share, comment, and come again here next time. Bye-bye.